Alright, back at it with the body work. We're reworking on this where we had to cut it and recurve it. So the curvature has stayed. So then we ground this back out to prep it better, and we're gonna fill it in a little more. So Josh is just showing me how to do this, and kind of I'm learning as we go here. Josh has got it figured out really well. So he's just gonna show me here, and we're just filling that in. But it was already really strong how we had it, but we're like, man, we're already here. Let's grind it back out and make this thing the best we possibly can. So he's got a method to the madness here of laying this out, kind of crisscrossing it. We're just working on that. We've got the other side prepped as well, and we're on a little bit of a time deadline because that resin will start setting up on you. So kind of GoPro in here, watching the resin and setting in that matting. But I'm super happy with how it's coming out, and we're gonna make this thing really strong.
So what we are looking to do here too is, as we're adding this resin in, working out all these, any air bubbles.
Gotcha. And my biggest issue was when I was doing it, I was pulling that matting up. So
yeah,
you got it working in.
Kind of soaked is kind of key.
Gotcha.
You almost can see how clear it
yeah,
is.
you can see the crisscrossing in there as well. But yeah, it's laying in there really well.
So we kind of pre-cut some of these pieces just so you're not trying to cut it as you go, because this does set up, like Kyle said, pretty quick.
Yeah, we tried to prep as best we could for we're not scrambling, but you always have a little bit of, at least I do, anxiety as this stuff's starting to set up and you're grabbing pieces. So the more you prep ahead of time, the better. Look good? No? There we go. I'm just laying a big sheet over the top of it to give it a little bit of extra thickness. I ground that down real thin in the middle, so this will help build that back up. But so far I can definitely say this is way stronger than like just using the fiberglass body filler. That stuff's great, has its purpose, but something like this, we've added a lot of strength back in that. Really impressed with that.
As I'm adding this resin, if you see what I'm talking about where it's almost lighter here, we want to get that gold.
Gotcha.
And that's by just wetting out this matting strand with the resin. So
yeah, it's laying in really nice. And what I noticed is if you grind these doors down, take the like gel coat is what I'd call it off of it, it looks just like what this looks like. So you're basically adding back material similar as what you removed. So kind of think of it as like you cut steel down and you put steel back. To me, doing this is kind of putting it back the way it should be, where when I was just adding filler, I was not adding the strength back. So you can see this side, we've got it grooved out where we cut it, and if you look on the back side, we grooved it out here, and we've got it clamped in.
fill that crack, or if you have a crack or whatever, fill that with the resin first. Get it nice and wet.
That's what she said.
Then, exactly. I split this stuff to thinner. For one, it's going to help you get into this crack a little bit better. And going around shapes, it's a lot easier because that thickness will push back out on you and create that air bubble that you do not want, because it's weak. just getting...
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Basically, the thinner it is, the easier it's going to lay in. So if we're trying to put a big sheet in right now, like there's no way I could do that. It's just going to be a big glob. So how he's thinned it out and is putting a little bit in at a time, it's allowing it to crisscross and lay in really well, which definitely kind of a pro tip there, because I was struggling when I'm trying to use a bigger sheet. So a little bit at a time and a solid amount of resin. That seems to be the key of what I'm noticing.
Yep. The fiberglass, you know, it's strong in itself, but the resin is definitely where your strength comes from. Not the only key factor, but
yeah, the two parts definitely work well together. It's kind of, you got your fiber in the mat, and then your hardener in that resin, and just makes like a rock solid repair. Definitely happy with that. Definitely gives me ideas on repairs in the future as well. The hood is gonna be tricky, but at least I'm getting a little bit familiar with it with this stuff. I'm almost thinking we're gonna try a different type of mat for the hood, but we'll see how that works out. We got a decent sized hole there.
which I have some ideas for that hood already. Kind of looked it over yesterday and came up with some ideas. So either use this mat, or this is the strand mat. They actually make a mat that has kind of holes in it, and that adds a lot of strength, which is good.
So the other mat that I seen almost looks like header wrap. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So yep, that might be what we try. And they did actually have it at our Napa paint store, so I can grab that if we need that. But that's the other mat that I'm thinking about. So we'll see. We'll try some stuff there.
Make sure you just buy yourself like some cheap brushes, throw away, but you can use this container over after it, let it just harden too, and after it hardens you can just pretty much pull the brush out and it comes out with it. Just reusing stuff is always good, because these cups and stuff, yeah, they're fairly inexpensive, but it add up.
Yep, it all adds up. And materials on bodywork, you think it's not going to be a whole lot, and you'll quickly realize it adds up really quick.
Yeah, professional way in the sense of doing the right steps can definitely add up. So,
do we want to, or do we have enough to try to add some on this one side?
yeah. There you go. I got some working time with that.
Yeah, so you're always kind of have a game plan of what you want to try to get done, but you're always fighting a time limit of that resin. So that's where it seems like we still got some time with the resin, a little bit anyhow. So we're going to try to pull some of this apart and see if we can beat the clock.
Well, yeah, the last few minutes you can start telling, it's starting to gel up on you, and you're knowing you're at the end, and then it kind of gets into a struggle mode, but it's not the end of the world if it does harden up, because you can just go back at it later.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about any of this is it's not irreversible. You can always grind it down if you make a mistake. So it's always going to be a little bit of trial and error until you get really good at it. I can tell you firsthand, I'd have a much bigger mess going on right now and stuff stuck everywhere. But the more you do it, the better you get with it. It's just like anything. But I can say I was a little bit intimidated myself to try and use this resin and this matting like this, and Josh just kind of made short work of it. So just these little tips definitely go a long way.
Yeah, I can tell it's starting to
set.
gel up. If you see inside there,
Yep.
it's not as runny. So, gotta work.
Josh is working on this as well. Excited to get this deal filled in and removed. I still use the radio. It's still in there. I'm gonna do something different antenna, but for whatever reason, just aesthetically, that always annoyed me. I hated seeing that. I removed the mast a long time ago, but just that base being there. If you picture like the older 67 through 81 Camaros, they didn't have any antennas. They were in the front windshield. I don't know why they got away from that. Like just adding this goofy antenna. And actually, no, I'm wrong. It's 70 to 81 Camaros had them in the windshield, not 67 through 9. But I always thought that was a good idea. So I'm going to come up with something like that.
Question on that is, how does your reception get for the radio on your 70?
Great.
3.
Perfect.
So
that's what, like, it always confused me why they changed that. Yeah, so who knows? Different designs, different years, but
cheaper in a sense of.
Yeah. I can imagine the windshield might have been expensive to make with those wires in there. So yeah, you can see he's got that laid in. We're gonna let this dry up and probably pop over to tracing on this guy and working on that. So I'm gonna keep this build series rolling. We're gonna keep making videos on this. It's been a long time coming, but also one thing, if you look at this quarter panel, I'd say 80% of the dent is probably out, or dents. There was like 20 dents and dings in this. And it's pretty much, from what I can tell, light filler work from here. Yeah. Josh got a ton of this pulled out just with hammer and dolly and using that glue-on style stud gun. So super impressed with that.
So, you know, I know you said earlier in the videos that these were dents. These are actually revealing that this is a low spot, or was a low spot. I have gotten it up now, but so when you're sanding like this, it will go away the paint, the layers, and you notice this is staying. That means that's low. These are high.
Got it.
Doesn't mean that you need to start hammering these down. No, you need to still work this back up.
Gotcha.
So that, and I don't want to dig too much further than what they have. The factory coating that they use is really good, so you almost don't want to get into that too much.
Strip it off all the way, yeah.
So unless you're sandblasting the whole car, but you know, we're just doing a paint job. So.
Well, awesome. I think that'll be it for this video, and we'll go from there. I'm excited. One step at a time here. We're making a lot of progress, and this is moving along pretty quick. If you guys like this kind of content, feel free to like and subscribe, and keep it saucy.